Well, hello again. This is the 8th of December 2024. And this is actually the 44th anniversary of the first episode of Button Moon being aired, which is why I have my Button Moon t-shirt on. There we go. This was actually a Christmas present about 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Yes. Not many people realise that. Anyway, that's irrelevant. Today, I'm going to do a follow-up to actually one of the first Aughty Thoughties I ever posted, which was called Normal People Are Weird, in which I talked about how I find that the average window of appropriate behaviour sometimes doesn't make much sense. So I've been meaning to do this for about 4 years, really, but it's one of those things that was low priority and ended up not getting done. So anyway, I'm going to do an autumn edition. Events that happen in the autumn. Now, I'm one of those awful people who loves autumn. I love the colour and the light quality and, just the end of summer. I'm not a summer person at all. I strongly dislike hot weather, dry weather, relentless daylight, and those people who go on about how much they love summer but they're never satisfied unless it's about 30 degrees. And even then they just go on and on about how, oh, it's such a shame it only happens once a year. Oh, we'll be going in our jumpers again next week, by which they mean it'll be about 25 degrees. And then spend all of the rest of the year going, oh, we only got one good day, didn't we? Oh, we never get a proper summer, do we? We only get one good day. Well, I don't know about anyone else, but I was melting for 3 months. Yeah, so I like autumn. Autumn's my thing. I like winter. I like I think it makes it a bit more exciting, to having a little trip to the supermarket if it's dark, all that kind of thing. But yeah, the events of autumn do sometimes become illogical, I think. I mean, we'll start with Halloween. Halloween is it's the only sort of annual event, certainly that I can think of, that isn't really based on any kind of historic story. It's not a commemoration of anything. I mean, I know witches have, a celebration of, witchy things, the changing of the seasons and so on. And, there are stories about how, the ancient Celts celebrated the death of the old year and they wore masks to ward off evil spirits and so on. And, it's you see these little memes on Facebook about what used to happen in ancient times, but they're all sort of quite spurious, aren't they? Quite none of them really agree with each other or have any sort of solid basis in historic fact. And I'm sure when the kids are going around with their little masks on, they're not necessarily thinking about what the ancient Celts got up to. And this is Zebedee, by the way. I'm sure regular viewers will recognise Zebedee. And it's one of those things that just seems to get bigger and bigger every year. And the thing I recently learned about Halloween is that people are actually scared of horror films. The monsters and the vampires and the witches and stuff in horror films. You're actually supposed to be scared of them. I always assumed they were supposed to be sort of funny. And I never really understood the scary bit of Halloween. But I've seen I saw there was a post on one of my Facebook groups about oh, how do you watch horror films? Do you watch them through your fingers like this, or do you watch them behind the sofa and so on? No, I just sort of sit and watch them and have a bit of a laugh at all the funny little monsters and ghoulies and things. And there were loads and loads of comments from grown adults saying, "Oh God, it's so terrifying." Really, really, is this not just one of those sort of national running jokes that I'm not really part of? Now, and I put a post on one of my autism support groups. Now, is it just me? Is this an autistic thing? What is it? Why are we really supposed to be feeling fear when we watch horror films? I mean, yeah, there's jump scares, things that make you go, oh, when there's a sharp noise or whatever. And, they can be poignant, they can be really well acted, they can be engaging stories, but they're not scary. I mean, it's fiction. We know that, ghosts and witches and vampires are, well, I suppose witches are an actual thing. People who follow the Wiccan religion, but they're not, they don't sort of wear pointy hats and fly around on broomsticks going, but you're actually supposed to be afraid. Literally afraid. Like people who go on roller coasters so they feel a bit scared. Watch true crime films so they can feel fury and rage and disgust and so on. Explore all these emotions that they don't feel in day-to-day life. That's what horror films are for. So really, wow. And I never imagined. Anyway, yes, who'd have thought horror films are scary? The only films that I actually find scary are true stories. I think things like 10 Rillington Place and A's for Acid and the Magdalene Sisters, Schindler's List, things like that are, things that actually happened. I find them scary because they are studies of, what humans are capable of doing to each other, which is 10 times scarier than, there was a vampire in a castle and he went around sucking blood and then he got killed. That's a made up story. That's fantasy. I mean, yeah, you can feel a range of emotions during the story, but it's not. I'm not afraid of the vampire. And it has become such a massive plastic tat fest as well. And you're supposed to put up decorations and buy costumes and things, and it's just another way of sucking money out of people, isn't it? Buy this, buy that. And my son watches these. He watches these things on YouTube about a shop in America called Spirit Halloween that sells massive animatronic Halloween figures to put in your garden. So as someone walks past, the sort of monster goes raw or whatever. I think people are spent, well, obviously they're spending hundreds of dollars, equivalent of hundreds of pounds on just Halloween decorations. Isn't there supposed to be a cost of living crisis? I don't know. I mean, obviously, it doesn't affect everybody. It's another of these things that you're sort of expected to participate in, and if you don't, if you've got other priorities, if you haven't got the time and money to dress your kids up and everything, then you know fun. I mean, my son is very into Halloween, and his birthday is close to Halloween as well. So he always has a Halloween themed birthday party. So I mean, I don't mind doing it for him because, obviously he's having his birthday party at the same time as his Halloween party, and we do sort of Halloween themed decorations and carve a pumpkin with his name and his age on it and everything, and he really enjoys it. He's very into it, and obviously I don't mind doing it for him because he's just obviously he's a child. When I didn't have children, it just completely went over my head. Halloween, I had no interest in it whatsoever. And then it's only 5 days to bonfire night. Bonfire night. It's such a small, inconsequential event in history, isn't it? The gunpowder plot. And yet we still have the bonfire and the fireworks and so on every year. And every child knows has an idea of who Guy Fawkes was. And he's this sort of huge, I don't know if you call him a folk hero or a folk villain, really. I suppose it depends a lot on your perspective. He's a folk controversial character. What did he do exactly? He completely failed to assassinate the king. Well, he was one of a group who completely failed to assassinate the king. He was the member of the group who was caught. Yeah, fireworks. What's the big deal about fireworks? Why are people letting off fireworks, weeks before the event? I mean, do they not realise that they are extremely loud? And, not everybody wants really big, loud noises going on for weeks and weeks. I mean, an organised event, fine. Have them going off for a short time in an appropriate place. Okay, we'll all go along, we'll all have a good time, we'll all enjoy the pretty colours, lovely. But, people just letting them off for weeks on end. I mean, why? What are you doing that for? Do you realise that animals and babies and people with PTSD are really upset by all these loud bangs? Or do you just not care? You can get quiet fireworks. That's the really stupid thing. You can get quiet fireworks. And yet they don't get the quiet fireworks. They don't stick to the actual evening of the 5th or closest weekend. Again, it's just more money down the drain, isn't it? It's more money just literally going up in smoke. Again, you're not forced to spend it, but if you choose not to participate, you're an old stick in the mud, no fun. That's that's the awkward thing. There's pressure to do all these things. I mean, again, I've got kids who enjoy the fireworks, so we go along to the display, and of course there's a bit of a fairground there, and little light up magic wands for sale and stuff. So we go and we have a bit of a laugh and so on. But if you are really stuck for money, you can't. If you spent all your money on Halloween costumes, Oh, Remembrance Day. Then there's Remembrance Day. There's actually two remembrances. I can't remember which. I can never remember which is which now. Remembrance Day and Armistice Day. Now, one's the 11th and one's the nearest Sunday when they, which, fine, great. Let's have a commemoration of the world wars, and say a poem, say a prayer, whatever you feel appropriate for, the people who lost their lives, who suffered, who were injured, who were displaced, who had a terrible time in the First World War. That's fine, great. No problems there. That seems appropriate. Oh, but then again, it's just another plastic tap fest, isn't it? Who's got the biggest poppy? And it's not just wearing the poppies, is it? It is. There's someone around the corner from me who's made this enormous display, right across the front window of their house, with the silhouette of the soldier and all the poppies and the Union Jacks and it's there. It's been there for about 3 years. I just think don't you get a bit bored of that? And we started, I don't know if this is a nationwide thing, but certainly there's a few places around where I live where every lamppost has like a little plastic circle on it with the silhouette of the soldier. I can't remember which town it was. There was one town a few years ago that had a massive cone of poppies in the town square. Like a Christmas tree, but it was poppies. I think do some crafts with the kids. To talk about the war and how the soldiers had to go and fight in the trenches and so on, and teach them some history. Great. Read them some poetry. Have an educational time. I'm a home educator. I've been talking to my son about the war. And it's important that we remember these things, but it just becomes a sort of sick joke when you see the royals and representatives of the government and the higher ups in the army are also standing round the cenotaph, making out they're really sad. When they are, the representatives of the people who actually caused the war, who sent all these soldiers to their deaths, and who carry on sending more soldiers to go out and fight every time there's any opportunity to do so. And it's, of course, it's gammon Christmas as well, isn't it? I don't wear a red poppy anymore because there's just such there's this mindset that I do not want to be associated with. I get a white one and a purple one. That's me done. I'm not going to get into the politics of it because it'll just make me angry. No, I'm not. Let's move on. Christmas. No, before Christmas. Before Christmas, we have Black Friday. Don't we? We have Black Friday now. Now, I know America has kind of lost its sparkle, as land of all things glamorous and trendy and futuristic in recent decades. But it has imported some positive things that we all enjoy. Like The Simpsons and Adventure Time and pancakes for breakfast and barbecue sauce and things. There's some good stuff coming out of America. And Black Friday. I love the concept of Black Friday. Doesn't everybody? It's one of these things that the media sort of really gets very sniffy about. Oh, all the crowds of baying animals wanted a cheap telly. Well, of course they wanted a cheap telly. Why would you pay £500 when you can wait till the end of November and pay £400? And there's always stories of, things being marked as being on special offer when they're not, or people fighting each other over a Xbox or something. I mean, the problem is not that there is a sale on. If you are spending money you don't have on things you don't need to impress people you don't like, then the problem is not that there's a sale on. The problem is, much deeper and systemic. If you have a few things on your Christmas shopping list that are a bit cheaper than they usually would be, and you can pop down to the shops at the end of November and get your Christmas shopping done, great. What's wrong with that? Brilliant. Save a couple of quid. I mean, I actually moved into this house in November, and the Black Friday sales were on, so I went and got loads of lampshades and bits and bobs I needed, and I saved some pounds. Brilliant. What's wrong with that? There's a sale at the end of November now. Great. I mean, I was reading recently that it's the reason it's called Black Friday is because it's not actually to do with sales at all. It's because in America they celebrate Thanksgiving, and then they've been partying hard and they're all sort of tired and or hungover on Friday, so. And they're all sort of driving back from the family's houses, and there's big traffic jams, and it's just a bit of a pain in the arse for everybody. And that's why it's called Black Friday. So it's the fact there's a sale on at the same time, when they're all sort of done with their Thanksgiving and they're looking forward to Christmas and starting to get this Christmas shopping done, so they put a sale on. The fact that happens at the same time is sort of, it's not connected. It's called Black Friday because of the end of Thanksgiving, not because of the sales. But yeah, I love that. I love Black Friday. Why is everybody so negative about Black Friday? Is it just because it's an American thing, or is it because people get things cheap? There is a bit of a horror, I find, of cheap things. People are very scared of things being cheap, aren't they? And they always have to. I don't know if it's a snobbery thing, or feeling that there must be a catch somewhere. There's always this sort of suspicion that it's substandard or you're being cheated somehow. No, some things are just bargains. Deal with it. You don't always get what you pay for. It's like when people try to justify buying designer clothes. I say, oh well, it'll last a long time, and the workers in the shops get paid more than people who the people who work in the shops where they sell cheap things. Do they? Have you checked? Do you really believe that? How long do you want your handbag to last? If I go down to the supermarket and I buy a handbag for £20, and you go to Gucci or Prada or somewhere and buy a handbag for £2,000, do you think your handbag will last 100 times longer than mine? If my £20 handbag lasts me a year, will yours last 100 years? Do you want your handbag to last 100 years? Are you going to use the same handbag every day for the rest of your life and pass it on to your children, your grandchildren? It won't still be in fashion in 100 years. It doesn't have any resale value. The people who buy second-hand designer clothes, if they've got £2,000 to spend on a handbag, they're going to buy a new one. They don't want second-hand ones. The resale value is nothing like the original value. And let's assume, okay, let's let's assume for the purposes of this that yes, my £20 handbag is being made in a sweatshop in Bangladesh by a sewing machinist earning £1 an hour. Is your £2,000 handbag being made by someone earning £100 an hour? Do you think any sewing machinist anywhere in the world is earning £100 an hour? Or anything close to that? If you spend £1,000 on a handbag, do you think they're earning £50 an hour? I doubt it. I very much doubt it. If you spent £500, do you think they were earning £25 an hour? Anyway, Christmas. Christmas, in theory, Christmas is lovely. Christmas is great. I love Christmas in theory. You know, we have this, there's a particular time of year that is dedicated to spending with the people you love, and it's really inclusive, and everyone has a great time, and we all eat lots of lovely food, we treat ourselves, we treat our family and friends, we decorate, we make an effort. Fantastic. Everyone's invited. But yes, in practice, it's a bit more difficult than that, isn't it? Again, plastic tat everywhere. Spending loads of money on rubbish that we don't need. Pressure to spend money on rubbish you don't need. And I know sometimes one year I decided I'd make an effort. You know, I decided I'd wrap the presents and put little ribbons around them and stick little bows on them and, you know, make them look really pretty and everything. Nobody noticed. Nobody said, oh, this present looks really nice. You know, I think I got one, oh, this is a bit hard to get into. How do I unwrap this? So I didn't bother again. There's Christmas cards. Who do you send your Christmas cards to? I mean, some people are obvious, you know, your nearest and dearest. Then I remember my nan and granddad. They used to have so many cards. They used to have like 40, 50 cards, and they'd stick them all on their doors in the house with blue tack. And they just cover all their doors with Christmas cards. And some of them were from people they never heard of, except at Christmas. You know, like neighbours and ex-colleagues and things. They hadn't heard of, they hadn't seen, they hadn't visited for 20, 30, 40 years, but they got a card at Christmas. And then one day the card wouldn't arrive. And, you know, you'd hear the man in his comment, oh, we haven't heard from Jim this year. Oh, Jim didn't send a card. Oh, he must be dead. And that'd be someone off their Christmas card list that they've been sending a card to for decades and otherwise never contacted because they just sort of assumed he must be dead. The card didn't arrive. I just thought, what's actually the point of that? What is the point of that communication? Just checking that someone they used to know is still alive. It's a bit sad, really. I suppose it's the equivalent now is, you know, having people on social media who you'll never speak to again, but, you know, you just sort of see their life events. And go, oh yeah, so and so has had a baby now. Oh, that's nice. So someone I knew at school has got a new job. Oh, lovely. And the buying of the presents. buying of the presents. Unless someone actually has a request for what they want, it's another of those things that you kind of think, why am I buying this? Am I buying this just for the sake of it? But then, if the present doesn't appear, you're a kind of bit of a social pariah. I mean, not necessarily a social. I mean, that's a bit of an exaggeration. But there's always the question of, why did you not get so and so a present? Why did you not send so and so a card? I mean, I found lockdown. Lockdown was quite useful, because there were people I didn't see during lockdown, and people I couldn't see. I sort of managed to cross a few peripheral people off my Christmas card list, and I didn't hear from them either. Extended family and friends I hadn't seen for a long time. They just sort of disappeared, and they sort of forgot me too, and that was good. That was good. That really slimmed down the Christmas card list. And again, it's this sort of enforced fun, isn't it? If you're not partaking, if you're not sending a card to everyone you ever met, if you're not spending loads and loads of money on presents and things, then there's something a bit wrong with you. Unless you're a man, men are allowed to not be constantly jolly at Christmas time. And I think this is something that you really notice at Christmas more than other times of year. The sort of gender roles come into play. Even if the rest of the time you're not particularly into that kind of thing, the mums and the grandmas and the aunties buy all the presents and do the cooking and help each other and say, oh, do you need a hand with anything, and do the decorating and things, and the men sort of sit around going, oh, I suppose we'll have to watch The Great Escape again, even though The Great Escape hadn't been on for 20 years. I don't know what happens, if you've got a gay relative, you've got a relative who's a gay couple, do they just sort of hope that the other will do it, or is it one of those things that gay people have sort of abandoned, and they kind of take part in Christmas like everybody else? I don't know. There aren't really any gay couples in my close family and friends. I don't know what you can expect. I don't know. They just sort of sit around going, oh, what did you buy for so and so? Oh, I didn't buy anything. Did you buy anything? Oh, I don't know. Or do they actually sort of realise they have to make an effort? I mean, my husband, who I actually married, so obviously isn't an alpha male or anything. He was going to see his sister recently, and he said, oh, have you bought her a card? I said, yeah. He said, oh, where is it? I said, it's in the bag with a present. I said, oh, you've got her a present? Yeah, I've got her a card and a present. And what do women do who've only got sons? Do they just not get any presents? Or do the sons have to sort of get together and say, right, we've really got to do something for our mum? I don't know, do single dads sort of feel pressure to do things for their children? It is. It's just pressure, isn't it? It's pressure, Christmas. Do this, do that. Make it magical. And now, if you haven't spent enough money on presents and wrapping and cards and decorations and days out, there's the Christmas Eve box. Now, one of my one of my Facebook friends had posted something about how she's got her daughter a Christmas Eve box. I looked into it, and this is a thing. This is a thing that you're supposed to get your children. You know, so you know, if they can't wait until Christmas Day, you can give them another load of presents on Christmas Eve. Elf on the Shelf. Where did that suddenly come from? I mean, I haven't seen quite so much Elf on the Shelf merchandise this year. I think maybe it's dying a death. But yeah, that was a massive pain in the ass for a while, wasn't it? Elf on the Shelf. I mean, again, it's one of those things I managed to avoid. I mean, my children were given elves on shelves, but I just sort of gave them to them as, you know, little toys to play with. I don't know where they've gone, actually. I thought I'd put them away with the Christmas decorations, but they weren't in the box, so... yeah, they were annoying. Apparently there was a story that was published about 20 years ago about a little elf that sort of sat watching the children and telling Father Christmas whether they'd been good or bad. And for some reason, everyone thought this was really lovely and charming and a wonderful thing to tell your children. And bought the little elves so that they can recreate the magic of living under surveillance. For their kids. But then it sort of became a thing that the elves start being naughty. And do as I say, not as I do. It makes no sense whatsoever. So anyway, yeah, I'm quite glad that's going out of fashion. There was one of my colleagues who had about 6 of them. She used to sort of do really elaborate things. Like one day she wrapped everything in the bathroom in wrapping paper. How do you wrap a bath in wrapping paper? Where do you get the time? It's Christmas. How do you find time to do things like that at Christmas? If I had, you know, an extra half an hour to pose this elf in an amusing situation every night, I don't think I'd spend it posing an elf. Yeah. So Christmas is a thing. In case you didn't realise, Christmas is a thing. And then there's the 5 days. No, it's not 5 days. It's 6 days before New Year. I mean, by this time we're no longer in autumn, but I will include it because it's only just in winter, and the build up to it goes on through autumn. That's a funny time of year, isn't it? I mean, for me personally, obviously my kids are home educated, and I work shifts in a supermarket, so it doesn't make a lot of difference to me. But everything's disrupted. You know, there's a lot of people not at work. You know, kids who go to school or off school, and there's just the fallout from Christmas and people still partying, and it's just a really odd time. There's still visiting relatives to be done. Still the people you didn't get round to seeing before Christmas. There's still, you know, sort of dropping off presents and cards and things here and there. Then it's New Year. New Year. What do we do at New Year? More fireworks, I suppose. More fireworks, aren't there? And again, what really is the celebration at New Year? I mean, obviously you have a little get together to, you know, commemorate the old year and the beginning of the new. And I suppose it's a milestone, isn't it? It's one time of year that it's a cut-off point. It's a deadline, if you like. You know, you can say, right, yeah, this year I wanted to achieve certain things, and I have managed to. You know, I had a bit of a lifestyle change. I started doing exercise. I had a go at learning to play the flute, but it didn't really work out, and so on. What really is New Year? It has a sense of poignancy to it, I suppose. You know, the feeling that, you know, another year has gone by. I mean, a year is, it's a period of time in which you can achieve things, I suppose. If we celebrated the beginning of every week or every month, you know, it wouldn't have the same drama to it, because it doesn't it happens a lot more often, and there's a lot less happens in a week or in a month. I mean, a year, and annual events. That's I suppose the thing I'm talking about. You can sort of put this milestone in place and say, and review what has happened over a reasonable length of time. You know, you can plan for the next reasonable length of time. In the same way that we celebrate birthdays and anniversaries, it's the way that dates are sort of imposed on time. You know, it gives us the sense. You know, everything that we do in life is governed by dates and times and so on. And so, you know, these things have an emotional resonance because the date is the same. You know, I mean, I was born on a Monday. I do not celebrate my birthday every Monday, but I do celebrate it on the date I was born. You know, because, yeah, that there is I only have one birthday every 365 days. Yeah, that's quite a big deal. A New Year is a sort of joint birthday, really, isn't it? So it's a birthday for the calendar. We celebrate the calendar's birthday at New Year. How do you describe the New Year celebration? We have a bit of a party. does fireworks. I don't know. What is New Year celebration? We just do whatever, really, don't we? There isn't a sort of set of rules of things you have to do at the New Year party. There isn't really a theme or anything, is there? It's you just stay up till after midnight and celebrate New Year. It's a strange one, isn't it? And why do we celebrate the New Year? Is it just because the year doesn't change very often? So when it does, it's an excuse to dress up. I don't know. I mean, do you remember the millennium? The Millennium Party. It wasn't even the millennium. You know, when 1999 became 2000, and everyone was really excited, and you know, for years in advance, people are getting excited about the millennium coming. There were big national events going on, like the Millennium Dome and the Millennium Bridge, and then it was all a bit of a damp squib, really, wasn't it? The 2nd of January 2000 was quite a dull day, really. I can't remember what happened. What I did on the 22nd of January 2000. It was a day like any other, really. But you know, the calendar had changed from 19 to 20, so that was a big deal. But of course, it wasn't even the millennium. 2000 was the last year of the 20th century. The millennium was when 2001 began. That was the new millennium. And I kept telling people it's not the millennium, but they didn't listen because I was only like a teenage girl. Nobody listens to teenage girls, do they? I kept saying it's not the millennium until next year. And they went, well, why are we celebrating the millennium then? I said, I don't know, because you're wrong. See, there wasn't a year zero. The first century started in 1 AD and went on until 100 AD. That's the first century, 1 to 100 AD. Right, so 1901 to 2000 or 2000, as you know, we would have said if we were being sensible, is the 20th century. 2001 is when the 21st century starts. But because 2000 was a big round number, that was a cause for celebration. And then the whole year of annual events starts again. But yeah, autumn does seem quite heavy on the annual celebrations, doesn't it? I suppose spring has a lot of kind of saints' days in it. Remember when there was discussion of making the saints' days national holidays? I thought, well, spring is already very heavy on days off. You know, we've already got Easter, we've got May bank holidays, 2 May bank holidays. I suppose there's Valentine's Day, if you're bothered about that kind of thing. The rest, summertime is fairly quiet, isn't it? I mean, I've got my birthday season in June, but that's very personal to me. What else do we celebrate as a nation? Yeah, it's very, very concentrated in the autumn, early on in winter. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. I've had enough of this kind of thing. I'm sure you've had enough of me. 50 minutes of talking about all the things that I find a bit puzzling about autumn and its many special days. Anyway, have a lovely Christmas if I don't see you before. See you then.